Hi, everyone. Carl Gould here. Welcome to our third in our series of COVID-19 strategies and tactics for your business, operating your business during a crisis. I'm Carl Gould with 7-Stage Advisors. We all know each other on some level, and we're all working together on some level. So, we started out a couple weeks ago, and it was more just, what the heck's going on, and let's get our arms around this. Last week, it was more about understanding what the scope of the problem is, and also how is the next month going to go. And our theme was make it through April. This week, the stimulus package is out, and while our goal is still let's get through April, we've got certain things that we need to be focused on in the month of April to make sure we get through it, because we've got to solve some problems now because we will not get a chance to do them later. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We do have a chat box. Put your questions in the chat box. Make sure to mute your lines, and we're going to get going. We've got a number of people with us today. Got a good group. So let's talk about what's on our plate and what do we need to be focusing on. So, as I mentioned before, what we're hearing right now is that there's a stimulus package, and they're going to add to it. You're likely going to get your stimulus in the next 3 to 4 weeks. By the end of April, we are likely to go back to work in May. Plan for that. It will be a stepped and staged reentry, if you will, or relaunch, or back to normalcy, or back to work, as they're saying. But it will likely be in the month of May. So you can plan for that. Now, your immediate issue is getting through April. We're all doing the same thing here, but it's not our big problem. Our big problem is we're going to have to meet the demand when they come back. And there's going to be a lot of pent-up demand. We're all going stir crazy. I'm in my home, and you guys are in yours, and we want to get back to work. We want to get back to our regular lives. And when the doors open up again, there's going to be a tsunami of demand that comes your way. So let's make sure we can we can meet that demand. So if there's certain things that have to be taken care of now in April, let's do them now, because you will not have time to do them later. If there's a part of the business we need to stress test, let's stress test it now. Okay, very, very important. All right. So here, what's the latest and the greatest? Well, we know the stimulus package has passed, and they're talking already about adding another $250 billion to the disaster loans and grants to small businesses. They're talking about a $500 billion overall addition to the stimulus package, but they are definitely 250 more. Good news out of New York. The curve seems to be flattening. The apex seems to have passed. We have a few days in a row now of lesser cases. While there will be some deaths, unfortunately, that we're going to experience, the overall problem seems to have peaked, and it's on its downtrend now, thankfully. Okay, now we're going to be dealing with this for the next year and a half, and my prediction is that over the next 18 months, until there's an antibody test and there's a vaccine, and there are confirmed and tested drugs that can treat this, we're going to be physically distancing. We're going to be getting tested at airports, at schools, those sorts of things. So we should get used to that new normal. And regionally, we're going to have to deal with some of those situations. But it looks like we're going to manage our way through the next 18 months, being very cautious and overly safe and hygienic in order to manage this situation. But control it, well, you can forget that. This virus is amongst us, and we need to make sure we protect ourselves as a community. Okay. And so we are expecting to see staged openings in the month of May. That might not be exactly where you're at. It might be somewhere else, but it is likely going to be you or your clientele are back to work. So we should really be prepared for that. Okay, source and use. Here's the big topic. We've already got a whole bunch of questions. I'll answer them as we go along, but let's talk about the disaster loans. The one you know about most, PPP, right? The Payroll Protection Program. So first things first, apply through your banker or through an authorized SBA lender. I've been hearing some people have gotten their loan applications in already over this past weekend or early this week. For many of you, like me, you've gotten the notice from your bank. You've done an initial application, and they're going to get back to you and tell you when to start submitting all the paperwork. Okay, and so find an authorized SBA lender if you have not done so thus far, or contact your bank. Now, apply for both the PPP and the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. This is the one that provides a $10,000 upfront grant. You can apply for both, and the system will cross-check and make sure that if you get the EIDL, they will deduct that amount from your PPP. Okay, so it's 10 grand. But apply for both now, and then if you get the EIDL money first, and you're applying for PPP, there's a question that says, have you gotten your EIDL? If so, how much? And then they'll automatically deduct that from what you get. If you applied for EIDL and then you apply for PPP, then you get your EIDL money, the system will just deduct that 10 grand from your PPP funding. Okay? So now, that's the federal program. If there are state programs, and the state has earmarked this much money for this and that much money for that, go ahead and apply for it anyway, because here's what's going to happen, folks. They are going to add to the funding of these stimulus packages throughout the course of the year. So even if they're saying, hey, listen, we're out of money now, but if you'd like to put your name in, why don't you go ahead? Go ahead and do it, because it's first come, first serve. And if they add more funds to this, you're in the queue and you're in line for those funds. So go ahead and do that. Okay, now the fun part. We have to interact with a website, an application portal that 30 million people are going to be applying for over the next month, okay? If not less, right? As a matter of fact, I'm a Wells Fargo client, and Saturday morning early, their portal opened so you could put in your preliminary application. I saw it on Saturday. I jumped right on it. I filled it out. Sunday night, I got an email from Wells Fargo saying, we're not accepting any more applications because our funding limit has been reached. We were given $10 billion to loan. We've hit the number. So within 18 hours, they had $10 billion pledged already. All right, so that's how many people have jumped on this. This is a good program. You've got this many business owners that are believing in it, and they're jumping right on it. That tells you that the government got this right, and this is a really good program, okay? So a pro tip. Here's what we're hearing from some of the people that have applied already. This has been their experience on various platforms. They're all similar, but the banks have to meet certain compliance requirements as far as knowing who you are, validating who you are. So that's why you're going through your banker, so they can say, oh yeah, we know who this person is, and we can validate their history. So, but here's the problem: is the websites are so overloaded that you're getting timed out a lot. And I've heard, horror stories anywhere from 2 hours to over 3 hours to get your application in. Not because it's a lengthy application, but because you keep getting knocked out of the system and you got to go back in. All right. So have the following items ready on a Word document or a spreadsheet, or at least in your tray, ready to go at the bottom of your computer so you can copy and paste quick. You don't want to say, oh, my EIN number, let me go find that. By the time you get back to the system, you've been timed out. You want to have the following items ready to go in your tray, Word doc, ready to copy and paste, okay? And so here we go. You want to have your monthly or quarterly payroll reports, however, and your filings, however you do these. Have your payroll reports, have your payroll tax filings, your all your 941s, have your Form 1099, and have your income expenses for 2019, your profit and loss, okay? Make sure that you have that handy, okay? Now, for most of you, you're going to use 2019, all right? That's what most of us are going to do. If you have some seasonality in your business, or you already know that you have additional payroll that you normally wouldn't have in January and February. You might go from February of 2020 back to March of 2019. In other words, you'll do the last 12 months, February back. So you can do all of 2019 on its own, or, March 1, 2019 to February 29, 2020. You can do the last 12 months. If it's, but better to get a good application in now than a perfect application in later and miss out. So talk to your accountant. If you can easily and readily access those numbers, pick out whichever 12 months is the larger number, and you're going to put in your application. Okay. Now, we're talking about PPP application readiness. The EIDL goes pretty easily. Okay. But on the PPP, remember, what you're doing is you're going to figure out what your annual payroll expenses are, and then divide by 12. So it's going to be 2.5 times your average monthly payroll. Okay. Now, okay. So now, and have your SIC industry code, your EIN identification number, and your formation date. Have those items ready because you don't want to get timed out. That's going to be, the problem there. Okay. So there you are. You're on the site. You get everything. You've got everything filed, right? You've got your PPP handled, your EIDL handled. What happens next? Well, early on, so what happens next is you're going to get funded, and you can plan that you're going to get funded on some level. If you're in the game now, getting your application in, you are going to get funded. All right. So let's plan for that. Couple of assumptions we make. One, world's going to go back to work in May. Two, you are going to get funded. All right. How much, when exactly? I get it. We don't know. All right. But when you travel at night, you put the headlights on, you only know to the end of your headlights. Your headlights don't shine all the way on the final destination. So trust your headlights. Trust this. Trust the fact that May we're back to work and you're going to get funded. Let's make those two assumptions. Let's go at it that way. Okay. Now, you've heard that you can spend 75% of the money that you get on your payroll. Okay. And if you spend it within 8 weeks, it's forgivable. Okay, so when does this 8 weeks start and how do you use them? All right, you can pick any 8-week contiguous time leading up to June 30th. What does that mean? All right, it's got to be 8 weeks in a row, and it will end by June 30th. So what you want to do is once you're funded, okay, it's either once funded or the 8 weeks leading into it, and it's likely going to be around the same because, think about it. It's April now. If you get funded by the end of April, it's May and June, and you're done. Those are the 8 weeks. So once you get it, spend it. UILI. Use it or lose it. And and you're not going to lose the money, but you're going to lose the forgiveness. Okay? So you want to spend 75% on payroll and payroll-related expenses. 25% you can spend on utilities, mortgage interest, taxes, state and local, all right, and rent, and you can spend up to 25% on that. That will not be forgivable. It will be a loan, but you want to spend it all the way up, get rid of that money by June 30th, especially the payroll. Now, what happens if you get to June 30th and you're like, yeah, I've still got some money left over. I haven't spent my 75%. Prepay those payroll expenses. Prepay the tax. Prepay the retirement benefits, the health benefits, the medical benefits, maybe even pay everybody a week early, right? So, but you could prepay up to that 75% threshold, okay? Now, you're going to get the money, you're going to spend the money, but what's going to happen is you're going to then, within 6 months, you're going to have to report back to the government how you spent the money, and you're going to apply for forgiveness, right? You're going to apply to have that money forgiven. So here's what we're recommending. First off, all of the PPP funds you get, put it in a separate bank account. Document all PPP payments, okay? So that way, when you have to report back, it's very easy to do that. Okay, so in other words, you're going to put it in one account, but you're saying to me, wait, Carl, I have a separate payroll account. That's fine. Take the PPP account number of funding, put it in that account, and then fund the payroll account and put in the memo funding payroll. Oh, but I have an account separate just for my mortgage. That's cool. So put it in here, fund the mortgage account, fund the utilities account, fund the benefits account. All right? Make sure it all goes into a central account because documentation is just going to be so much easier. All right? And you're going to have to report back to the government if you want this forgivable. So of course you're going to do that. We just want to make the process as simple and easy as possible. So put it in an account and only use it for that reason. So the bank statements, the documentation, all of that is all really tight, okay? Prepay any of those utilities, rent, mortgages, using those funds, any health and retirement benefits, but you can't pay federal payroll tax, but you can do state and local, all right? Now, when it comes to a program like this, the government is really getting it right here, but just imagine if we gave you $350 billion and you had to make sure not only was it distributed, but and got spent properly, that everyone was in compliance. So they're working their way through some of the gyrations that are necessary to make sure they don't get defrauded, basically, right? So stay in close contact with your banker, your accountant, your attorney, or whoever, your 7-stage advisor, anyone who can provide you with up-to-date guidance on what's going on, just to make sure you have the latest and the greatest. Okay, make sure that you're up to date, and we don't create a problem later, because the government is not going to look friendly on anyone who took advantage of the system. Okay, they are really doing the right thing here, but they're going to have to later on make sure everybody played nice in the sandbox. You are, of course, going to do that. We, of course, are going to advise you to do that. So let's just make sure that we set this up in such a way that that it's easy to report, it's nice and clean. We can apply and get our forgiveness and keep running our businesses. Okay? All right. Sounds good. Now, we got a lot of questions around this. I think I've covered a lot of them, but I've been getting some of them via text. And so let me cover the ones that I haven't already. Someone asks, can we apply at the same time for both PPP and EIDL? Yes, that is true, and you can. And remember, the system won't let you double dip at all. So go ahead and apply for both. Right now, you all qualify. Apply for both of them. EIDL, you can go right on the Small Business Administration website, sba.gov. Apply for EIDL. Takes only a few minutes, and maybe you get that $10,000 grant right away. Okay. Now, the other 25, how can I spend money? Remind me how I can spend that other 25%. The other 25% you can use to pay for rent, utilities, gas, electric, telephone, internet. All right. You can and you need to hire back people you laid off, or start hiring now for people that you're not going to hire back. We'll talk about that more later, but you want to have the same head count. Think head count. If you're saying, oh, I'd let go of some people, they're never coming back, that's fine, but start hiring now. Remember, everybody's going to want everybody 8 weeks from now. Don't wait. You want to hire the people that you need right now. We're not waiting. Remember, the end of your headlights. We're going to get funded. We're back to work in May. You do not want to start hiring in May and June when the whole rest of the world is looking to hire. The people that are looking for jobs, they're not waiting. They're looking right now. Okay? They're not hanging around saying, oh, let's just wait. No. They're looking for jobs right now. So you don't want to wait either. Okay? Now, what are some other alternative forms of funding? Okay. Now, I talked about this once before. Are there other ways that you can get funding right now? And, banks, for all the things we might, joke about them, about what they don't do well, they are very opportunistic. Okay. So in my note from Wells Fargo saying, here's what we could do with the SBA, they also reminded me of 3 different other alternative funding programs that they have right now for small businesses like me. So if either in addition to or in place of, if you decide to go down that route, banks do have alternate forms of financing. There are SBA programs that are out there that are not disaster related. So there are other funding programs. We would recommend go through PPP, EIDL first, and then supplement with the other ones, okay? Now, what we are hearing is that home refinancing and lines of credit are moving very quickly. So I got a note here, home mortgages are being turned around with drive-by appraisals, okay? So and we heard of somebody who did a rapid refinance in 2 days. So refinance your home or any real estate that you have, because the reduction in monthly payment will feel like a bit of a tax break, and it'll infuse some cash into your operating capital right away. Now, the other thing that I was recommending is, we've talked about this, is it's not direct funding, but it's another way to get cash. Any of you that own assets, real estate, equipment, materials, and you do R&D, we've recommended before that you do a cost segregation and accelerated depreciation study on your business, okay? The IRS allows for multiple ways to depreciate assets. You know, the lights in your building, you know, they don't last 39 years like the walls and roof, you know, according to the depreciation schedule. You can accelerate that. You can bring that forward, okay? And they allow you to even bring some of the depreciation forward on the individual ones. You can speed it up, 10%, 20%, 50%, depending on the item. So what happens when you do that is you do the accelerated depreciation, you could take that as tax deductions now. So the next time you have to write a tax payment, you might not have to write out that tax payment in full or at all because you're taking the accelerated depreciation. That's cash in the bank right now. So accelerated depreciation and cost segregation study, refinance all mortgages. Those are 2 ways to put cash right in your accounts right now, guys. Cash is king, recurring cash is King Kong, but we want to make sure we have both of those, okay? All right. How quickly or how many months can I prepay those other expenses? You can prepay as many of those expenses as you want, but if it exceeds the 25% of the PPP funding, it will not be forgiven. So just be careful of that. And the loan amount currently is 24 months at 1% interest. So, you know, look, if you got to do what you got to do as far as what you have to pay. The loan amounts are so low, it's basically free money. You got to pay it back, but rather have it now as working capital and pay it back over the next 2 years than not have it at all. Okay, cool. All right, now accountability check-in. Right, part of these calls is to set the agenda for how we get through April. Right now, we mentioned that April is educate your audience. Right. Facebook traffic, by the way, I just read is up 40% right now. 40%. That means the same people are on half as much as long as they usually are, or there's 40% more people on there, but they have 40% more traffic. So where do you think you ought to be putting things? On Facebook, right? But also YouTube, right? All of your platforms. So here are 5 things you ought to be doing right away. Number 1, what are you doing right now to be prepared or remain prepared to serve your clients? So do a little video walking them through the warehouse, showing them the inventory you're stacking up or the extra binders you bought to make sure you've got when the training program comes along, or you stuffing things into a packing box so you're ready for when the orders come. What are measures that you're taking to meet demand? Show them that you have some safety stock, you know, in the warehouse. Show them that your pre-order status or your express order status with your vendors, okay? Or show them the letter saying, hey, as soon as you need it, we got it, right? Over-communicate to your clientele right now and your prospects that you're ready. Because this is like the slingshot. We're pulling it back, and when they open the doors, we want to go. So here's the deal. Let me stop there. Whether or not you have a great 2020 is going to be reliant on the 90 days after the relaunch. If you sit around and wait, oh, I don't want to do that. Yeah, we want to wait and see how it goes. How do you know it's going to be ready in March, Carl? All right. You sit around and wait. You're going to spend the next 90 days catching up. That's June, July, and August that you missed. 2 months out, 3 months down, 5 months of the year. Your year is gone, guys. Your year is gone. So we're not going to allow that. All right. You want to be ready now. You want to educate your audience now. Remember our preparedness priority list and pre-order conversation from last week. All right. We want to start building that out. You want to be ready for people who have the insight that says this is a good downtime for me to really prepare, because you're not going to have time later. When the world goes back to work and things start getting crazy, you're going to say, okay, I'm ready now. Let's do training. Wait a minute. I'm inundated with orders. I can't. Okay. So you don't want to be waiting. All right. Number 3, owners. Very quick and easy video. Wish your family safe and health. Remind them to socially and physically distance. Remind them that we're all in this together. Tell them, I wish you safe and healthy practices and an enjoyable and safe and healthy spring. Enjoy the time with your families. Enjoy your loved ones. We'll be back with you soon. We're getting ready. We're here for you. That's all you got to say. And push that out. Make a video of it. And if you don't want to make a video, then just type out the words I just gave you. There's your letter. Send it out. Well, I did that 2 weeks. Send another one. Let them know. Just thinking of you. Just staying in touch. Okay? Number 4, do a video showing your team socially distancing. I put a picture up recently of me socially distancing, and I made the joke that, hey, if you want a social distance, go to the airport. And I showed the lobby. There was no one in the airport. And then I showed myself in the plane. There were 8 people on the flight. 200 seats, 8 people. Okay? And then lastly, do some do-it-yourself videos of you job shopping, of you finishing off some nuts or bolts, or you working on a project or designing something or drawing a sketch, whatever it is your product or service is. Just take videos of you building it, creating it, designing it, storing it, staging it, painting it, whatever. Okay, but start educating the customer how you do what you do. Show them how to do some projects at home. Okay, do tutorials on how to throw a hatchet. So when they come in, they've already got some coaching, how to hit a bullseye, right? As much of that stuff as you could do now, the better, okay? All right, now I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one, but I wanted it on the recording just so you could see it. So 1, 2, and 3 we've already talked about. But number 4, you're educating your audience, but also train your staff. What part of your business needs a stress test? Test them all out. Yesterday, we did a 7-hour training with a team on a particular analysis document. They role played the entire afternoon. Every role plays an hour. By the end of the day, but they were well drilled. They got it, right? They're ready now. Okay, you want to do the same thing. So if there's any part of your product, service, or system that you want to revisit, how to deal with financing, credit application, filing, document handling, shredding, your customer service calls, marketing, lead gen, running a webinar, you name it. Any of those things, stress test them now. Look at your process map. Make sure that we all agree this is how it's supposed to work, okay? As your advisor, we hear all the time, well, Carl, if I had the time, we would definitely do it. We're swamped. You find the 10 minutes to do this. I can't. Well, right now, this is the time. Shame on you if you haven't done this and you complain when you're busy and you can't get to things, or you're running so inefficiently that during those peak times, you're not profitable. This is my fear, guys. I know you'll all get through this time. I'm not worried about you. You guys are strong. You've been mentally tough. A lot I want to say about that. But one thing that I am really worried about, and so are all the advisors, is what's going to happen when the tsunami, the surge comes your way of demand, that big spike, okay? Fast growth is many times not profitable, especially if you're not ready for it. So let's stress test the areas. Is onboarding a client a challenge for you? So let's work through it. If you want to see what stress testing looks like, rent the movie The Founder with Michael Keaton. There's one part of the movie where the McDonald brothers, in order to perfect their system, the Speedy system, they closed down the restaurant, took all of the employees to the tennis court, and with a chalk drew out on the tennis court a mock kitchen, and they had them rehearse making a hamburger, and they kept going through iterations until they felt they had it. Shut down the entire restaurant, took everybody out to the tennis court. They got up on tall ladders, they were watching from above, and they role played it until they felt they had it nailed down. That's what I'm talking about. Let's take the time to do that. Okay. All right, our next accountability check-in. Now, unbelievably, I can't believe it happened, but twice today, there are 2 clients we talked to, and you know who you are, who have not yet done your 12-month forecast. Folks, you can't make 30, 60, 90-day decisions if you haven't done your 12-month forecast. Here is the overwhelming response we are getting once the forecast is done. Oh, well, that doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to be. Now, one thing I'm very proud of, and I'm proud of you for, is that every one of our active clients is outperforming the market. Now, that might not be great news, like, oh, market's getting, right? You might not be having a great year, but you are outperforming the market. The stock market took a 35% hit, 35%, okay? You guys are outperforming the market, which means you are staying ahead of this. You're staying ahead of the wave, and you are ahead of this problem. Now, in order to make the best decisions, you've got to do your 12-month forecast. Doesn't have to be perfect, and if you're struggling with it, talk to your advisor, email me, we'll help you do your 12-month forecast. We want to know your cash, your sales. We want to know, and we're going month by month, right? Okay? We're going month by month. We want to know what your collected revenue, sales is, and your, MRR and ARR is going to be. Now, I've seen some of the videos. I've seen all the videos. I'm watching all the videos, just like you are. And the financial gurus out there are telling you that your forecast isn't, worth the paper it's written on. That's baloney. Okay? I with all due respect to all the other gurus out there, you have to go through that exercise. You want to grow your business. This is the growth advisor talking now, right? You want to make sure that you put your business in the best possible situation, and then you can grow from there. You want to know what the next 12 months is. We go through that exercise. Assuming the world goes back to work in May, what does your May look like? What does your June look like? Your July? All the way through March of 2021. And forecast it as best as you can. We have to go through the simulations so we can make the best decision. You don't just throw out your forecast. That's crazy. We're not doing that. Sorry, we don't do that. We're going to have a forecast, and we're going to walk through the simulations. All right? Because there's been too many of the conversations we're having with you guys where we're finding out that it's not as bad as it seems, and we can get our arms around it. And many of you, and I'm not suggesting we drive blindly into the abyss and slam your business into a wall. I'm not talking about that at all, right? And we don't have rosy, optimism around things. But let's call it what it is. Let's not make it worse than it is, and let's not make it better than it is. But let's call it what it is. All right? That's how you can make your best decision. So last week I said you got to do your 12-month forecast. 2 of you, and you know who you are, haven't done them. You got to do the 12-month forecast. We will help you do it if you're not sure how to do it on your own. We will help you do it. But we want to know, where is the cash likely to come in? Where is the sales likely to come in? Where are we going to have accounts receivable? What does the whole picture look like? Because if the whole picture looks like pretty good, then guess what? You're likely keeping most of the people you have, most of the resources. If it's terrible, if you're going to end up 20%, your forecast was 10 million, you're going to end up at 2. Well, we're hacking and slashing right now. But you can't make the best decisions unless you've done that. Okay? So we're going to do line by line analysis of every project, every prospect, every client. Here's what happened today. We were talking to one of our sales folks, one of our client sales folks, and he said, all of my prospects are shut down. All of them are shut down? Well, yeah, we have this one big project with a restaurant. I said, they're shut down? He goes, well, they're open for delivery. So they're open. Yeah, they're open. By the way, folks, there's no such thing as shut down. Nobody's shut down. And I mean that. Literally, technically, nobody is shut down. You might not be accepting patrons right now. You might not be allowing visitors right now. You might be limited to the amount of operations you can do in your building, but you are not shut down. Half of my conversations with you guys, you're at your office. Okay? As long as the doors are open and, you're operating, then your clients need you. If they're moving at all, they need you. So there's no such thing as we're closed. All right? So don't let anyone give you that, because that's not the case here. All right. So here's what happened. So big project for a big restaurant. He said, I've got a verbal on that. I'm like, oh, that's great. What do we have to do to get this across the finish line? Well, I just have to send a proposal. I said, all right, well, let's do it. He goes, well, I haven't done the walkthrough yet. I can't. It's in a kind of a high-risk area, and I have an underlying health issue, so I'm not comfortable going. Okay, totally respect that. I understand. So is there anyone else on the team that can go there? And he's like, yeah. So we came up with the name. We came up with the person. So they're going to go there. They have the experience to do the walkthrough, take the measurements, film the right things, get it back to the sales producer so they can submit the quote, and we can close the deal. If we didn't go line by line on every single one, we're not getting to that one, because it started out with everybody shut down to now, within a week, we can get a PO because we submitted a formal proposal and we get a deposit, and that project can start. You see what I mean? That's why we want to troubleshoot each one line by line. Believe me, it's not, this will be the most fun analysis you've ever done in your life. Because all of a sudden, it starts to become reality. Wait a minute, we can actually do this. We can do this, okay? All right, super. So now, if you've done your 12-month forecast, and those of you that haven't done it, please get that done right away, you can then do your 30, 60, 90, all right? Once we've done our 12-month, and we've gone line by line on every project, prospect, and client, then, and what we're doing line by line is, when the world goes back to work, are they likely to still be a client? Yes. Are they likely to still do the project? Yes. This prospect, are they likely to still be in business? And are they likely going to do the project they were proposing? Yes. All right. Good. So once we know that, when is it likely to happen? Okay. And we can build out our 12-month. Then we can look at 30, 60, 90. All right. Once we have our 30, 60, 90, now we can start making cuts. Okay. If there are any cuts to make, any adjustments to make, and again, we're back to work in May, and we've got our funding by then, okay? Then we can do our 30, 60, 90 forecast, all right? Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one, but I wanted it here to be thorough for part of the recording, so as a reminder, remember, this is a time to clear the brush, meaning there are certain employees that they were going to go anyway. You knew they weren't part of the team, they weren't part of the solution, so you got rid of them now, well done. You're not going to hire them back. So remember I mentioned before, start hiring for open positions now. Yeah, but Carl, I don't know when we're going back. We just had that conversation. Trust the end of the headlights, folks. Get your head count back where it's supposed to be. Start the hiring process, because in June, when everybody's hiring and, well, wait a minute, we're going to have 15% unemployment. Guys, they're all going back to the jobs they had. Don't let that number fool you. This is not the economy resetting itself and all these jobs are gone. These people are going right back to where they were before. Most of them. So you want to snap them up now. Because you know where they are? They're at home, considering other possibilities. Then you come knocking. That's why we want to start hiring now. And let's get people who we believe match our core values and want to work with us. And believe me, you hire them now, and they're willing to, buy into your system now under these conditions, they're likely a keeper. Okay? Okay. Last thing is, or next thing I should say, is we want to make the immediate moves in expense reduction. Remember that sequence matters, and we've talked about this before, but just to hit the highlights, we want to go in this order, do our gross margin analysis, cost of sales, and we want to pursue our highest qualified leads first. Then we want to put lean practices into our materials and our direct labor and eliminate or minimize any fat in the system. This is the time to revisit your processes and lean them out as much as you can. Then we'll look at non-core operational expenses. And then lastly, you then look at management labor, okay? The reason why we do it last is we want to repurpose the managers as needed. They can do sales, they can mop the floors, they can clean the bathrooms. You're liking me now, managers, I'm sure, right? All right. But you're willing to do whatever it takes. That's the beauty of you. You've come through the ranks. You're willing to do whatever it takes. That's why we might need to repurpose you if we've gotten rid of some other people. Okay? So we want to go in this order. But remember, 12-month forecast, 30, 60, 90, then we do our expense reduction. Here's why. All right? We've told you many times you have to expand to meet the demand, right? But you also have to contract the business when the economy retracts, right? Expand to demand, contract to retract, all right? And you want to make sure on the way down, you don't create any problems that makes it more expensive on the way back up. That's why we want to follow this sequence, right? You know, as you guys may know, there was a time we had a very traditional consulting firm with, in-office full-time employees, right? And we have changed our business model to where we are remote and we have as much variable cost as we can. We want everything up in variable costs and direct costs and minimize our fixed costs so we can be as nimble as possible. Because want to know why? Times like this is why you want to do that. Okay? You want to be in that same position. All right? We've advised you in the past around this, and we have said, let's get as nimble as we can. Here's the other thing we advised you on. Remember, you're looking for ways to infuse more cash into your business, right? Well, you're going to get this PPP loan, and out of that 25%, you're going to pay rent. Wouldn't it be nice to be paying rent to yourself? Wouldn't that be nice? Instead of paying rent to somebody else, part of that 25% you'll be paying to you're owning your own building. We want to see you build out your balance sheet so that you are paying yourself. Okay? All right. So, all right. And so we're going to wrap up on this point. All right. Again, for the purposes of the recording, I'll put this on here. This is when we're forecasting how we look at our capital, and we want to refinance our asset capital. All right. And I know you guys have a lot of questions. We've answered a number of them so far in the recording here. If you have any questions, reach out to your advisor. We're proud to be your advisors during this time. And I got to tell you, and I speak on behalf of the team, we are tremendously inspired by how you have stepped up and exerted your leadership during this time. The productivity and the positive and forward thinking that you have maintained during this time has been nothing short of remarkable. And I just want to acknowledge you for that. And I'm not sitting here saying that, it's all going to just get better from now. We are likely to have some more bumps in the road. Okay? We're going to be living with coronavirus for at least the next 18 months. You could take that to the bank. All right? We're going to have to manage that over the next 18 months. All right? There might be pockets of time where it seems bleak. Okay? That's what we're here for. 7 Stage Advisors started out as a life coaching company. All right? Well, that's part of our DNA. So if you just want to talk and it's got nothing to do with business, you just want to pick up the phone or text us, be it your advisor, be it me. This is my direct line. That's my cell phone. Feel free to contact me directly, and I'll make sure that you get the attention you need. Once again, we're proud to be your advisors. We are super impressed in how you're going through this time. We will get through it together. And as it's turning out already, You all are outperforming the marketplace. We're going to continue to do that, and we are going to continue to stay ahead of this. So we'll be speaking on all of our individual advisory calls throughout the course of the week. But until next week, when we do this again, have a great week. And if there's anything we can do for you, please let us know.